Mr. Speaker, the Treasury Department just recently announced the end of the TARP. They said on October 3rd, 2010. Now, it may have marked the end of the Treasury Department's authority to initiate new investments under the Troubled Asset Relief Program, but in reality, TARP is not dead. And American taxpayers still face a daunting economic recovery, with the Federal Reserve now downgrading their economic outlook for the United States economy and predicting over 9% unemployment through the end of next year, as it simultaneously engages in a dangerous quantitative easing plan, which is a monetary policy used to increase the money supply by simply buying up government securities. This could further damage our financial recovery. Mr. Speaker, let's start with the troubling news about the TARP program. According to Neil Barofsky, the Special Inspector General of the TARP, which is called Stearns-TARP, the taxpayers-funded bailout program, quote, remains very much alive, end quote. In fact, Mr. Barofsky's report states, quote, as of October 3rd, $180 billion in TARP funds were still outstanding. And altogether, no new TARP obligations can be made. Money already obligated to existing programs may still be expended. Furthermore, $211 million in capital purchase program dividends remain outstanding and unpaid. This is money that is owed to the taxpayers. Stearns-TARP's November report also criticized Treasury's TARP program for failing to save homeowners from foreclosure. Out of the 1.7 million American homes that have been foreclosed since January 2009, TARP has only supported a little over 200,000 permanent, now that's less than 12% of the mortgage modifications. Disturbingly, Stearns-TARP's latest report also indicates that Treasury concealed $40 billion in taxpayers' losses on the AIG bailout by changing its valuation methods. Our United States Treasury is now saying that taxpayers will only lose $5 billion on AIG, when it previously stated taxpayers would lose $45 billion. Mr. Speaker, the Treasury Department seems inclined to paint an artificial picture of taxpayers' losses and clearly shows the Obama administration isn't being straightforward about the true cost of the taxpayer-funded TARP program. The monetary policies coming out of the Fed are also troublesome. On November 3rd, the Fed announced that it will purchase $600 billion in government debt, treasuries, over the next 8 months, initiating its second round of quantitative easing. You may recall that in 2008, the Fed engaged in this same kind of quantitative easing, spending around $1.7 trillion to take bonds off the hands of banks. Quantitative easing is a dangerous gamble, and in many ways is akin to the creation of simply another TARP program, but without congressional approval and without transparency for American taxpayers. With this Q2, the second round of quantitative easing, our nation's central bank will become the largest holder of the national debt in the entire world. The Fed already holds $834 billion of Treasury and is on pace to have over $1 trillion in Treasuries by August 2011. That's more than China, Japan, or any other foreign creditor. The printing of new money as a way to deal with our economic issues is just as worrisome and misguided as the creation of the TARP program. The Fed's QE2 plan could weaken the dollar further and lead to trade disputes with other countries. It could lead bond traders to believe that inflation will run wild, and they could then themselves derail the Fed's efforts by pushing rates even higher. It could also create bubbles as hedge funds and other speculators borrow cheaply and make even bigger bets on stocks and commodities. The true cost of TARPs are not known, as are the dangerous monetary policy the Fed is pursuing. Even in the improbable event that the TARP program will recover all of its funds, American taxpayers will continue to bear the cost of the federal government's demonstration that certain financial institutions are just too big to fail, and likewise the cost to the economy of the Fed's second round of quantitative easing will be unknown, as the Fed continues to operate behind a veil of secrecy. The American taxpayers are only now just finding out about the Fed, where it spent over $3.3 trillion in emergency programs propping up banks and financial institutions all over the world. Mr. Speaker, the incoming new Republican majority which the American people resoundingly voted in on November 2nd, is poised to take control of our disastrous economic situation by dramatically reducing federal spending and creating jobs through the elimination of this economic uncertainty that exists today and implementing pro-business policies. We are committed to reducing the cost of government and the proliferation of burdensome regulations, and we will usher in an area of growth that benefits all Americans.
Gentleman's time has expired.